Alright, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Basham Yahushai, Basham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways, pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. This is Brother Irawam from the James Jamaica camp, coming with another quick lesson. And this one is really something that I that does hit me in the spirit, that most of the times when our righteous forefathers were persecuted, it was based on the fact that they would not or did not want to commit idolatry, or that they didn't want to put ingest or take any defiled thing in their they didn't want to defile their bodies, whether it be eating defiled or corrupt food, or serving an idol, right? And it's the same thing, that will be happening with C19, with the C and with the and with the V. All of this is a similar ploy. It's a similar plan with the heathen, right? So let me just get some scriptures real quick, give some accounts, and hopefully this is edifying. And I won't be going through all the accounts or any of the accounts in within themselves, but you can actually go through the scriptures on your own time. Right now, this is Revelation 12, and I'll start at verse 10. It says, "I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death." Right, because as the scripture says in Timothy, that perilous times shall come. Right, and these days that we're going into with the C19 and with the V and the C, it's really it's going to be real perilous, right? And as the LR Yeshua always highlights, it is idolatry. It's you showing that you submit to the so-called white man as your god, and submitting to the beast and to the beast system. That's what happened when you actually take the C, right? So let's get Revelation 13, and then we get the examples from the scriptures. This is Revelation 13, and I'll start at verse is it 15? Let me see. All right, let me start at let me start at verse 14. It says, "And he deceived them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast." Esau, the so-called white man, will be using his technology to do to create a lot of miracles, and doing a lot of things. Even with the V, he's basically saying that he's gonna save humanity with the V. He is the savior of the earth, right? Saying unto them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live, which is basically ancient Rome, right? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right, and that's the thing, worshiping the image of the beast, meaning that you comply with the rules and guidelines, that that he'll be putting out, and the main thing that the two main the main thing that you'd have to do is to actually take the sea, right? That because he's only gonna quote unquote take care of, or provide, quote unquote, provide aid for those who comply with his system. Right, verse 16, "And he caused it all, both small and great." Well, Salakia, let me read the last line again. It says, "And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." So it goes to show that you're gonna have to pick a side, right? Just like in the times of old, with those various idol worship and sacrifices, right? "And he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right? And we know that that all goes into the sea, because without the sea you won't be able to you won't be connected to the grid. Therefore you won't be able to buy or sell. With these digital currencies coming out and all of that, right? But it all begins with the C. Not the C, Slack. It all begins with the V, and the guidelines and the rules, surrounding the V going forward, right? Now, let's get the first example, right, which is in the book of Daniel. Now, this is Daniel chapter 3. Yeah, this is Daniel chapter 3, right? And this is something that will be implemented worldwide, right? So, Daniel chapter 3, verse 1, it says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Right? So those are the heads, right? Then the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. So all these governments coming together under the UN, it's similar to what Nebuchadnezzar had done, right? Because most of these things are being administered under the UN, so that we can have a universal ID, universal currency, and Agenda 21, Vision 2030. It all links up with the V and the C. Ultimately the New World Order, right? It says, and they stood before the image and Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Right? Now, verse 4 says, Then an herald cried out, To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages. Right? Because it's going to be, and the same thing today. It says this is going to be, the V is going to be implemented worldwide. The C is going to be implemented worldwide. Right? And it's all about to be Esau, worshiping Esau, serving Esau in the system, and having him as a god over you. As the technology, they'll know everything that you do, what you buy, what you eat, what you watch, what you say. Everything will be tracked and monitored, right? It says, then an herald cried out, To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages. And it's going out, the various governments, the media, everything. The main thing is that, look, it's time to take the V, right? It says, At what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye shall fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And whoso falleth not down and worship shall the same hour be cast in the midst of a burning fire furnace. Right? And that is the thing. So ultimately, if you do not worship, it's death. Right? Straight on to the point. You're going to be put to death. Right? And it's the same thing even now, the scripture that I read in Revelation said that because those that will not worship the image of the beast should be put to death. Also I think it's Revelation 14. It says that you saw those that were beheaded for Yahweh, right? Who did not worship the beast, or that didn't take his mark. Right? Because the righteous, the hopeful elect, the first fruits, the righteous of the nation of Israel, that are saved through the spirit and power of Yahweh, they will reject it. As it says in Revelation 12, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb, right, and by their testimony, right. So that is just one example. Now let's get another example in the book of Daniel, right? This is Daniel chapter 6, and I'll start at verse 6. Now in the verses above, it basically stated that Daniel was, was preferred among the presidents, and you have some people that were envious of that, right? It says, Daniel 6 and 6, it says, then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save thee, O king, ye shall be cast into the lion's den. So you see that? Once you caught preaching the Bible, once you caught, saying the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, once you're following, righteousness, you're gonna be you're gonna be persecuted. So they say, look, make this decree that if anyone doing anything outside of coming to you, which in the end, if you try to that's what the so-called white man plans to do, they will actually be begging, to how dire the times will be. People are gonna come to him and beg. Now, if you're not gonna come to him to receive his mark and basically fall in line with how he wants things to go, you're gonna be an enemy. Hence, what I quoted earlier about those that were beheaded, for not worshiping the beast or the image of the beast, nor receiving his mark. Right? So there you go again. It's always surrounding idolatry. Always. Right? And it just as our righteous forefathers, stood up, but then, so do we have to stand up, peradventure, we glorify the Lord in death, or as, Daniel as well as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we get delivered. Right? So let me get two more from the Apocrypha. Now this is First Maccabees chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote unto his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Right? What do you think the universal income is all about? What do you think the New World Order is about? Right? It says that, and everyone should leave his laws, right? So even if it's if it's even turning from the laws of the scriptures, right? So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. And we know that even in these times, you have a lot of jakes that will take the V and will take the C. Right? And they will also sell out those who don't. Right? Verse 44, and the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. And that's the thing, they'll use some of these false prophets to say, hey, follow the law of the land, and they'll actually use that to try to justify you taking the V and the C. Right? They'll even try to quote scriptures. Right? Verse 45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festivals. So, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. So that's the thing. They want to pull us away from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They want us to deny Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and acknowledge them as our rulers and their ways as the true ways. Right? It says, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Right? That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. And the V is one such thing. Right? It says, to the end that they may forget the law and change all the ordinances. And that's the thing. They want to change the laws of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. They want to pull us from that. Right? Now here's the point in verse 50. It says, and whosoever should not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, ye should die. Same thing that will be coming here, and it's all surrounded around what? Idolatry and witchcraft and righteousness. Right? So the next chapter, which will be or the next account, which will be in Second Maccabees, chapter 6 and 7. Now let me start at 1. Is it 1? Let me look real quickly. Right, well, yeah, I can start at 1. It says this is Second Maccabees 6 verse 6. I'm sorry, Salakia, Second Maccabees 6 verse 1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. And that's pretty much what when they want you to take the V and the C, that's what they actually want to do. Right? That's exactly what they want to do. Right? Verse 5 says, the altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for any man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or profess himself to be a Jew. That's the other thing, they don't want us to profess ourselves being Hebrew Israelites. Verse 7, in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraints to eat of sacrifices, and when this fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. So you see that? They want them to eat unclean foods. They want us to eat abominable foods. That is similar to you taking the V. Right? And also having the C in your skin. Right? Let me see if I can get to the point here. Right, verse 8, it says, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of the sacrifices, and whoso would not conform themselves in Salakia, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So you see that? Once again, if you don't follow their idolatry and follow their doctrine, then they want us to be put to death. And it gives the example of Eliezer here, and they will also try to tell you that, hey, pretend like you did it, right? Verse 18 says, Eliezer, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth to eat swine's flesh. And that's what the thing they'll do. They'll try to get you to take the V and the C, right? But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came of his own accord to the torment, right? And it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for the love of life to be tasted. As I said, this is very similar to the V. Now it tells you down here that let me read it. It says, but they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. Right? And that's the thing, they will come and say, hey, you have a lot of people following you, you have a lot of people that listen to you. Even if you don't want to take it, all right, just go out there and tell them that you take it. Right? And that would cause a stain. Right? It says, but, let me continue. It says, but he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray hair, whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by the Most High. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straight away to send him to the grave. So, as it said in Revelation, they loved not their lives unto death. Right? So here's an example with that here with Eliezer. Right? Once again, you can go ahead and you can go through his account, right? And the last part, Second Maccabees 7 verse 1, it says, it came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips, right? And verse 2 says, but one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. Right? And that's the thing, they wanted them just to eat unclean foods. They wanted them to eat pork. And they actually died for that. Right? So how much more for the V and the C? Right? How much more in these days, rejecting Esau, Edom, idolatry or his religion, right? So, and we need to be armed with that same mind. We have to pray for that spirit. We being of the hopeful elect, have to pray for the strength to actually overcome these trials, right? And hope this was exhorting. Hope this was faith boosting. Once more, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom.